move our meeting back. So this hearing has reconvened at 7 p.m. after having taken a 10-minute recess. We'll start now with the additional people who've signed up for public comment who've not had a chance yet. Tony Gerhardt is first on that list, and he would be followed by Kathleen Boone. Kathleen Hassens. Then after that, the next person would be Bruce Raskin. Bruce Raskin will fall. Please feel free to proceed.
My name is Tony Gerhardt. I live at 4233 Grandview Road, Highland Park. A lot of people made a lot of really good points here today. Thank you guys for listening, everybody. It really comes down to, I think, pretty simple thing is that this is a large scale commercial development that's trying to be shoehorned into a rural based zone, which it doesn't fit. Doesn't fit any of the properties around it. Ensign can call this whatever they want. Them calling it a lodge does not make it a lodge. I did a quick scale on this site plan. The parking lot alone appears to be about 6 acres. That's an enormous parking lot. The building, it's pretty hard to scale because of its irregular shape, but I would guess it's somewhere between 200,000 and 250,000 square feet with 3 floors. That is not a lodge. You pretty much have to defy logic to call this that. This is going to require for the 136 rooms, the 25 employee housing units, the extra homes, which looks like there's about 13 drawn on this map, probably somewhere close to 200 vehicles would be using this, at least during the busy season, many of them coming and going multiple times a day. That's a lot of demand on, extra demand on the roads right near a very busy intersection. I would urge you to do this project based on what the Planning and Zoning Commission came up with, that it does not fit the definition of a lodge. It's a hotel. All of that Ensign's advertising on their website, every one of their properties, they call them hotel resorts. As other people have mentioned, other lodges in Island Park. Island Park Lodge has 13 rooms. First Lodge has 15. All of them have under like 20 or less. It appears there's an attempt to describe what a lodge is on section 1.36.040, and it's distinctly different than a small, what's they're calling a small motel, which is 1.36.050. A small motel is not allowed in that zone. Why should a large motel or hotel be allowed? In the analysis section of the document that was supplied today, stated that although they did not give a very detailed explanation of the findings, the P&Z decision to resolve the definition, etc., does not fit into the general public's perception of a lodge in Island Park. They're proposing to put this in Island Park. Where else would the definition be applied to? So I am asking you to uphold Planning and Zoning's decision, deny this.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission?
I have none.
Thank you very much. Bruce Raskin, followed by Michelle Staker.
My name is Bruce Raskin. I live at 2866 East Pine Haven Drive in Island Park. I basically want to reiterate some of the things that were said earlier. specifically about the zoning. The rural base zone, which is where they want to put the hotel. I'm going to read what it says. The rural base zone is established to provide for the continued use of agricultural lands, rangelands, and wildlife management areas within the county. The rural base zone is not intended to accommodate non-agricultural development. The rural conservation zone, which is the next restrictive area, and the rural living zone, none of them mention a motel, hotel. Guest lodges, yes, on the first three. It's not until the fourth restrictive area, the residential rural urban transition zone, that finally mentions the allowing motel resort. And it seems pretty clear that those who drafted the code originally had in mind to distinguish between a lodge versus a motel, hotel. And I think based on everything we've heard tonight, it's pretty commonly agreed that what Ensign is planning to do is not just build a motel, hotel, but a huge resort with all sorts of outbuildings that go well beyond what anyone would consider a guest lodge. So I urge the commissioner to deny their request.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission?
I have none.
Thank you. Michelle Sager, followed by Larry Staker.
I'll be very brief. South Sector 3935 Wise Alley. I'm not expert in anything. I'm a long time at the island. We've been instructed that we are not to give our opinions just because of opinions, but I can read. And the attorney said that if we can read, we can see plain meaning, forward in the plan. Plain meaning is the flat zone preserve. There for agriculture, recreation, wildlife preservation. Please allow to remain and vote this awful.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission?
None.
Larry Staker.
I'm Larry State. I live at 3935 Idaho Way. Been arrested for it's just awful. I'd like to represent the disenfranchised citizens of Fremont County. By that I mean, we can't vote in the city because it's quarter of a mile on either side of the highway. Can't vote in Fremont County because we don't have proper representation. What has been said here today is absolutely. There have been 4 other meetings held on similar things, and this is a very small representation of the meeting that was held a year ago, where over 500 disenfranchised citizens of Island Park appeared to testify. In all of those meetings, there has never been anyone in support of any of the projects. Please listen to us. We need commissioners who stand up for us. Shame on Ensign for their presentation and their criticism of our P&Z committee. P&Z failed. P&Z improperly deferred. B, P&Z failed to base its decision on the standards of the FCDC. Please listen to them. Now, the last thing I'd like to say is The flats are apparently supposed to protect wildlife. What about life? The beautiful area is being encroached upon by businesses and buildings. Please, commissioners, protect our lives in Island Park. Protect us as citizens of Fremont County. Deny this request for a hotel. It isn't a hotel. You know that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission?
I have none.
Thank you. That completes the list of everyone who I have that has signed up to testify. Is there anyone who has signed up to testify whose name or who desires to testify, whose name I did not call that somehow I missed?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, come up.
yes, please do.
My name's Josh Thomas. I live at 2243 East, 200 North. I'm just gonna spring board off a couple of things I set up earlier. Guys, Fremont County is made up of volunteers when it comes to your EMS. Emergency management, the search and rescue, which I'm part of. Do you guys not hear me? Okay. We're recording? Okay, right on. So, being a member of the fire department and search and rescue, I'll tell you right now, we are stretched thin. The more and more resources we put up in Island Park, the more and more it stretches us thinner and thinner. Ask the law enforcement officer sitting behind you. Talk to the sheriff now. We are hurting hard when it comes to this, guys. And the more we bring in here, the more we stress it. Not only do we stress it that way, we destroy it. Every single day we destroy it. Let's use some common sense here. Use it, do what it's designed for. Let's read it. Let's get a new plan. We've been fighting this thing every time we turn around. Let's fight it. Let's get it. Let's get it written. It's 2025. We're working on something now that's how old? 2018. It's time to fix it. Questions?
Questions from the commission?
I have none.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has signed up to testify whose name I failed to call? To those of you again whose name I may have mispronounced, I again apologize. That will complete. We will now close the public comment portion of this hearing. We will now move to the final portion of this hearing, which is the rebuttal, which is provided to the appellant. The appellant now has reserved approximately 12 minutes of their time to provide for their rebuttal and closing statement. So with that, Mr. Nelson, please proceed.
Just a few quick points here. I'll try to be brief, given my time here. I just want to make one comment as to scope. And I can't elaborate obviously too much for time's sake, but scope of this appeal being the scope of the decision from the planning and zoning. I want to emphasize that there is a scope to what we're requesting that the board review here. Next, obviously our argument, as we've mentioned, is that the proposed development is a permitted use within the zone. It's a lawful use. It's not an unlawful use. Had this been on public land, public frustration would obviously be understood, but this is a private landowner's desire to use their land lawfully. And I just want to emphasize that. And many comments have been made as to public resources. Well, public resources are expanded as tax bases. And that's what, this proposed development is intended to do, is continue to expand the tax base. Island Park will continue to grow with or without Ensign hospitality. Those resources are going to need to expand. Increasing the tax base is all part of that. I want to make mention too, of course, as mentioned before and in our written material, we don't deny that this is a hotel. We've been very transparent that we're classifying this as a hotel while it meets that definition. But again, as explained deeply in my letter, a hotel and a guest lodge are different. We're not trying to say that we're hiding a hotel under a guest lodge tag. Guest lodge is different than a hotel. And just because we're saying this is a guest lodge, is not saying it's a hotel. I think there are these things can be two things at once. And again, as I mentioned, the guest lodge is based solely upon the language of the code, and inferences, from the way that the courts interpret ambiguous code, is that it's intended to be a hotel type structure that's got a rustic aesthetic that is the historic view of the area. And so again, it's not that Ensign here is at all trying to be hiding the ball or facetious in its application. It's been very transparent with the county since the initiation of the application that what it intends to build. It's worked with the county on establishing this project. It's a hotel, but it's a guest lodge. Another important distinction, I think, is the rural base zone considers all of the policies of the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan guides the formation of the code. The comprehensive plan is the basis for the code. The code should be drafted consistent with the comprehensive plan. Now, the burden that the rural-based zone places on development is the open space requirement. And the open space requirement really is what pushes forth the agenda to keep it open land. The open space requirement is huge at 65%. It's over half land that's got to be left open in development. If this was a hotel on a commercial lot, certainly it could use much more of the space, and it wouldn't have such a broad open space requirement, because that's the nature of the commercial zoning designation. But the burden that Ensign is bearing, giving it it's in a rural base, is that open space requirement that it's required to keep such amount of lands open. It's done that in its proposed plan. Furthermore, as emailed to the administrator, so many comments have been made as to wildlife. Ensign has coordinated with the state Fish and Game Department as to the migration pattern. And the Fish and Game Department has emailed Ensign, which is in turn gone to the administration, that there's no concern over migration patterns of wildlife through the lot. The state really doesn't have any concerns, but certainly should there be any suggestions from this board or otherwise as to wildlife, Ensign is willing to cooperate, but it's not a basis to this application. Additionally, as this board views that there are other recommendations or suggestions, certainly Ensign is willing to cooperate and amend and provide greater detail upon final plan and upon final approval. So certainly Ensign is not closed to obtaining suggestions from this board. It's to ways to modify. But I think, again, the purpose of this appeal and the scope of this appeal is a request to overturn the notion that the proposed development is not a guest lodge and not permitted in the rural base zone. And based on my literature here I provided to you, as well as the administrative report, I think we've made a pretty big point that certainly this proposed development is a guest lodge and is in the rural base zone. There was also public comments made as to water and other state regulated utilities and services, which certainly under state's jurisdiction, Ensign fully intends to cooperate with state code and state requirements there and coordinate with, for example, the Idaho Department of Water Resources. I don't think that's a question, and certainly not within the scope of the appeal. But I think, again, the main point to hit home here is that this is a permitted use within the zone. We're not seeking to change the uses of the zone. We're willing to bear the burdens that the rural-based zone forces a developer to bear, specifically the open space requirements. Which requires obviously a much greater lot of land to comply with this open space requirement for what this development is, and that's a cost of property owners is certainly much more land is required. In a commercial space, much less land is required to do this project. But so certainly Ensign is willing to bear with the requirements of the rural-based zone, but it's not requesting to do anything outside of what's already lawfully permitted and allowed. There's no suggestion otherwise. And And certainly, if there are suggestions or things from the county to modify, because I was willing to cooperate, but certainly shouldn't be denied because it's not allowed. I think I'm probably at my time. Are there any additional questions?
Any additional questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Okay, thank you, thank you. At this time, excuse me, at this time, this will complete the public hearing on the Ensign Hospitality appeal of the denial of the Class 2 permit for a guest lodge, file number 24-063. On behalf of the county commissioners, myself, and the rest of the Fremont County staff here, I want to thank each of you for your attendance, for your decorum, and for your very critical and relevant comments. It's very much, I know that the commission will be making a decision in this matter, very much appreciate all of your efforts. It is my understanding at this time, the commission intends to take this matter under advisement as provided for under Idaho code, and that they will provide a decision within 60 days. They will make that decision in a written informal decision available to